It's just counting.
All right, Jake Fallon, this is 9 a.m. class, and this is my persuasive speech. Ever present in today's society is racial profiling in the police force, and this problem hasn't shown many signs of actually going away in recent times. And in order to discover what to do to actually take steps towards ending racial profiling, we need to first understand what exactly it is. So, racial profiling refers to the discriminatory practice by law enforcement officials of targeting individuals based off their race, ethnicity, religion, or national place of origin. And this definition comes from the ACLU website in 2015. And the most prominent use of racial profiling in the police force is actually through the practice of the stop and frisk. This practice by the police involves the police officer being able to stop and actually search a person out in the streets based off reasonable suspicion of them committing a crime. And this has been happening a lot recently in today's with racial profiling. And so the problem we have here is that the stop and frisk practice with racial profiling infringes on people's rights, and there's no proof of it actually reducing crime in cities. To help solve this problem, we need to pass the End Racial Profiling Act and include better training resources for police to actually learn to understand how to interact with society on a racial standpoint. So the stop and frisk practice for which the racial profiling is supposed to take place in came first from the Terry versus Ohio case. In this case, John Terry was seen walking in a distinct pattern in 1968 with a couple other people, and one of the police officers saw this pattern and thought it just to go in and actually stop the men and pat them down and search them. And the officer found actually a legal concealed gun carried on John Terry, and he was actually sentenced to 3 years in jail time. And this caused a lot of controversy with people because they didn't understand if it broke the Fourth Amendment, if it was an illegal search and seizure based off no proof that they could have just been technically just walking around. So that's where the actual term stop and frisk came from, otherwise known as Terry's frisk. And looking at today's society, we can see that this stop and frisk, racial profiling is very present, as most blacks are the ones who are stopped, and Hispanics as well, so showing minorities are most people who are stopped. And looking at these numbers, of the 2.3 million blacks stopped, 8,400 weapons were found, and 7,600 illegal drugs were found. And of the Hispanics, of the 1.4 million stopped, 6,300 weapons were found, and 7,400 illegal drugs were found. And then going into whites, 435,000 were stopped, which is considerably less, and 6,200 weapons were found, with 9,900 illegal drugs found. So actually showing there isn't much difference in the amount of illegal substances or weapons found in people, but including actually the whites, there were more illegal drugs found. But this shows that there was a huge number of blacks who were stopped, including Hispanics and just other minorities, relating to these numbers. And this is from the Mother Adams server from Mother Jones online articles in 2013. Now that we see that racial profiling exists and is ever present in society, we need to see how it is actually wrong. And the U.S. Department of Justice in 2013 actually said this pretty well, which is racial profiling in law enforcement is not merely wrong, but also ineffective. Race-based assumptions in law enforcement perpetuate negative racial stereotypes that are harmful to a rich and diverse democracy and materially impair our efforts to maintain a fair and just society. With the actual Department of Justice agreeing with this being wrong, there needs to be something done about it. I mean, showing as well it's not just wrong, it's also ineffective. Because the overall rise in stops over the past years has actually led to not much of a decrease at all in overall felonies. So this is showing almost a limited effect. And because of this uselessness, it shows how, and because the uselessness and how most minorities are targeted from this practice, it just creates everyday problems for people to deal with and have bad relations with the police for minorities. And there's no point to it. And the kind of argument to this would be that it's just statistics and the police actually suspected these people committing a crime, and it just so happened to be that most were black or most were Hispanic. But looking at the constant articles online and seeing how people react, you can see that it's not just statistics, and also a lot of police officers actually admit to being racist, including one, Reddit Hudson from 2014. he said, I won't say all, but many of my fears were deeply racist. And now, to actually help solve this problem, we need to introduce, what's not even introduced, is the End Racial Profiling Act. And this act has not been passed yet, but it's in production for the past couple of years. And what it does is it prohibits racial profiling officially as illegal, or not as illegal, it prohibits it in the police force. And it creates procedures for the police to follow in order to make sure that it's not done. And finally, it demands data collection from actual police departments, not from third party, like outside people who are viewing it. And what this does is this will create more awareness within the police force of the actual racial profile that's going on. And this is all explained from Aaron Morrison in 2015. And so we need to pass this act. And secondly, we need to increase and have better training with in racial scenarios for police. For example, the Rutland Police Department actually has a different training system than most, which has face-to-face classroom interactions, and this is proven to be much better than just the individual online tests that those police force taken. And there's been a drop of complaints about racial profiling in the area, and this is from Bob Adute in 2012. And so, in the end, we have a problem of racial profiling. It is very present in today's society. There's just no point to it, and it just infringes on people's right. In order to stop it, we need to pass the End Racial Profiling Act in 2015 and introduce better training to the police force. Thank you.